If you just joined us, our guest on this episode of Question Time is the Chief of Army Staff, General Tukur Buratai. Don't go away. Let's also assess some of the new strategies deployed, introduced by you in this current dispensation. The decision to establish its own Army aviation. How economically viable is this in terms of cost of maintenance?
When you talk of national security, I think you must realize that whatever you invest in it, it will never be wasted. It is something that can always pay itself in the long run. And if you look at the damages made to the northeast, and indeed some parts of the country, including that of the Niger Delta, you can see it's so enormous. So whatever we can invest in defense and security, I assure you, it can never be wasted as long as it is implemented appropriately and employed to serve that purpose. So the Army aviation is that aspect of the our plan or strategy, to add to our capabilities, to add to the Army's capability in terms of air assets, in terms of logistic movement, in terms of tactical operations, which will make the Army more flexible to utilize its air asset at all times.
Are you suggesting this is not an indictment on the Nigerian Air Force in any way?
Not at all. It's complementing.
And that will not be a duplication of role?
It's not at all. Just as you mentioned, some countries already have these capabilities. I give you an example. I just came back from Colombia in January, and the Colombian Army has an air wing. And I tell you, they also just came out from this type of insurgency. They fought it for over 40 years. And based on their experience, they were able to develop and establish and develop that air wing. And as of today, they have large fleets of helicopters, other fixed-wing aircraft that has helped their operations against the terrorists in Colombia.
10 years ago, the Nigerian Army had its own fleets. So what happened to these fleets?
Well, I cannot remember the Army having its own fleet. I remember some procurement were made, but later on handed over to other agencies for one reason or the other. But I don't think they've operated it. I know we've trained some officers and soldiers, we've trained some pilots, and they were at the verge of taking off when it was stopped. So I think we cannot effectively say we had an air wing that was operational.
Now, this takes us to the procurement process in the Nigerian Army. How would you assess the expenditure system? People believe that the expenditure system in the Nigerian Army has no control. How true is this?
You see, previously we've been having some sort of procurement that was not streamlined the way it should. And if you remember, I think even the federal government, the first Procurement Act, which I know of, was this 2007 that was enacted. And it gave a much more better procurement process for the country and indeed for the armed forces. And the Nigerian Army has been applying this type of procurement. But even within that process, there had been exceptions for the military. The procurement process had been much made to conform with the emergency situations that the military at times, and as it is now, gets itself involved. So the amount that has always been budgeted for, in reality, if we are to keep an armed force, it's not even enough. But the issue of utilization or judicial utilization will depend upon the operators, those at the helm of affairs at that time, and it also depends upon the overall direction of the government.
We understand that some top army officers refunded some money not quite long that was accused to be stolen funds from the Nigerian army.
I'm not privy to that. Just probably the way you heard, probably that's how I also have been hearing, but I'm not privy to that.
As the Chief of Army Staff, did you bother to find out the authenticity of the reports of top military officers refunding money reported to have been looted?
Well, at the right time, we'll be informed, and maybe we'll get to know at the appropriate time. Okay? And it's a common knowledge, the investigation is still on, and we'll get to know.
Just to set the record straight, we understand that there is a kind of esprit de corps in the military institutions when it comes to issue of finance, procurement, and accountability.
Finance, they're always appropriated, they're always meant for a purpose, and we always apply them for those purposes at all times. So, esprit de corps, we only see it in the realm of the troops, the soldiers, taking care of themselves, keeping the same high spirit to motivate them to get them conduct themselves professionally. But in terms of finance, I think everybody always gets what is entitled to.
You may also join in this conversation by sending us your comment on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Coming up on Question Time, what's the Nigerian Army's response to Amnesty International's report on the Nigerian Army? Find out after the break.